If you've been thinking about locking up your hair, then you clicked on the right video because I'm going to give you everything you need to know to get you started. Now let's get into it. Now, here's a little disclaimer. I've been locked for almost 2.5 years. I started my own locks and I maintain my own locks. Now, I'm not a loctician and I'm not a licensed professional. So all of these tips and tricks that I'm about to give to y'all is all based on my own personal experience and research. So before you come for me, let me just make sure I say that. Step number 1, be ready to commit. Although locks can be reversed, it's a lot of work to do so. And your locks won't look like locks until you're about a year in. So trusting the process is something that you're gonna have to be ready for. Trust me, I was not prepared on my first lock journey. I was 4 months in and I chopped my hair off. So be ready for the commitment when I say locks is for the long run, not the short, baby. Also, be ready to consider if you're going to start them yourself and maintain them yourself, or if you're going to go to a professional to start and maintain your locks. We're going to get more into that later in the video, but trust me, that key right there is important as well. Step number 2, what kind of locks do you want? There are many different variations of locks. There's micro locks, there's sister locks, there's traditional locks, there's thick locks, there's freeform locks, there's wicks. Those are just the ones that I know that are most popular, but there may be even other versions of locks that we don't even know about. How you choose your locks can be based on your hair type or personal preference. For an example, if you have hair that is considered fine, a little bit more on the thinner side, going for a thick lock or going for a wick type of look is not ideal for you because it's gonna look scalpy. For someone that has more thin or fine hair, it would be more suitable for you to go for a micro lock, a sister lock, maybe even a traditional lock, because it's gonna give your hair the appearance of looking fuller and thicker than what it really is. If your hair is considered to be really, really thick, you could go for a micro lock, you could go for a sister lock, but also keep in mind that when it comes down to maintenance, it's gonna be a lot more work to maintain your hair. Going for a traditional lock or a thick wick type of lock is going to be a lot more suitable for you, and the maintenance is going to be a lot more easier. Step number 3, how do you want to start your locks? There are multiple ways that you can start your locks. There's comb coils, there's 2-strand twists, there's braids, there's instant locks, there's lock extensions. Those are just the most popular ways as well. But there may be other ways that we don't even know about. Each starting method will depend on your hair type, and it's also going to give your matured lock a certain look. So that's something to keep in mind. There's a lot of different variables that come into the ideal of what kind of locks you want. So I highly recommend you dig a little deeper and do your own research on the different ways and the different types of locks that there is so that you know what's best for you. I personally started off with the 2-strand twist method. I thought that was going to be a lot more easier for me to maintain during the starter lock phase. I also didn't want them to be so super uniformed, so I kind of liked that bumpy look, and as my locks matured down the line, it still gave that bumpy textured look instead of just a straight uniformed lock, which was something that I personally liked. So it all is just based on your preference and the type of hair that you have. My hair is also very thick. Step number 4, choose a parting system. There are a few different parting systems to think about when you're choosing your locks because that may depend on your hair type, and that's also going to determine how your hair lays. Most people are going to start off with the square brick method, which is what I did, while others may go for like a diamond pattern, which is suited for people who have fine, thin hair, which is going to give it the illusion that your hair is fuller than what it really is, compared to them doing a square pattern. There's also C parts, organic parts, which is really used for freeforms, and there's also going to be the grid pattern, which is really used for people who have micro locks or sister locks, because with that, you want every single lock to be pretty much identical, so it has to be on point. The size of your locks also play a big role as well. For an example, the bigger the part, the bigger the lock. The smaller the part, the smaller the lock. Choosing your lock method and your parting system is important because over time, as your locks mature, they will change. So if you're in love with how they look in the starter phase, keep in mind they will change. Step number 5, growing your locks. It doesn't take a lot to grow your locks, so all them extra products are unnecessary. At least for me, they were. All you need is a liquid-based hydrator and a moisturizing oil. Two ingredients. You literally have to treat your hair like a plant and water it daily, okay? That's what works for me. This was my locks on day 1, and this is my locks today. As my liquid hydrator, I live by aloe juice. If I don't have aloe juice, I'll use distilled water, but most times I have aloe juice. Aloe juice, aloe juice, aloe juice, okay? Try to avoid regular water, and by regular water, I mean tap water, because most of the time it is going to make your hair very dry and very brittle because it's filled up with built up minerals and chemicals like chlorine. So that is really not good for your hair at all. As my moisturizing oil, I use almond oil, which is my own personal preference, but you can use any oil that works best for your hair. But if you would like more information on that, be sure to check out my How to Grow Healthy Locks Fast. I'll put the link up right here because I get more in depth on the differences on moisturizing oils and sealing oils. And if you ever heard that myth that you can't get your locks wet in the first couple months of locking your hair, that is very untrue. Maybe not wash your hair, like shampoo and condition it in the first couple months if you're worried about your hair unraveling. But you can definitely spray them with your liquid hydrator. Because if anything, wetting your locks in the starting phase is going to help speed the lock process of your hair. Because when your hair is wet, it extends, and then when it dries, it shrinks. That's pretty much the lock process. It extending and shrinking, and in that process, it's going to lock. So the more that happens, the faster your hair will lock. Step number 6, maintenance. How you plan on maintaining your locks is also something to consider. Are you going to self-maintain, or are you going to go to a professional loctician? That's something you got to think about. If you're someone who's kind of hair savvy, lock savvy, and knows how to maintain your own hair regularly, and if you're willing to actually learn how to maintain your own locks, then that's something to consider, self-maintenance. But if you are not someone that's into that, and if you don't mind spending a pretty penny to get your locks maintained by someone, then I would consider going to a professional. There are also 2 ways for you to retighten your lock roots. You can palm roll them, or you can interlock them. If you want a more fuller lock, as far as them being thicker, then I would highly recommend you to do palm rolling. The only downside with palm rolling is that they don't last as long, especially if you sweat a lot in your scalp or if you get your locks wet. Compared to interlocking, they last a lot longer, and they'll last through sweat and with you getting them wet, but they won't look as full compared to palm rolling. If you do have smaller locks though, such as micro locks or sister locks, I highly recommend that you get them interlocked because palm rolling just doesn't make sense. I personally self-maintain my own locks just because I'm tender-headed, I know what I like, and it costs too much to get your hair done, so I'd rather do it myself. Step number 7, avoid product buildup. The way you care for locks is going to be completely different compared to the way that you care for your loose natural hair. When it comes to locks, less is more. Compared to with your natural hair, more might actually be more suitable. Using a more creamy or waxy based product on your locks is going to cause your locks to be prone to more buildup compared to using water-based products on your locks. The reason it's going to be harder is because it's going to be harder to wash out. As your locks mature over time, your locks are literally locking, so it's also going to lock in that product, making it a lot harder for you to wash it out. For my favorite product recommendations, I'll pop some up on the screen, but if you're interested on purchasing some of them, be sure to check out my Amazon storefront, and you know I don't gatekeep, it's all right there. I'll also leave some links in my description box down below. Step number 8, avoid breakage. I honestly go like 2 months, sometimes even longer, without a retwist. The more stress, tension, and dehydration you put onto your roots, the more prone you are to breakage. Avoid retwisting too often because over time it's going to thin out your locks. Avoid tight hairstyles because over time that's going to cause breakage. And avoid washing your locks too often and allowing them to get too dry. So yes, that means hydrating them daily like it's a plant, and that means wearing your bonnet religiously. We're not going to sleep without that bonnet. If you're not a fan of bonnets, use a silk pillowcase. And last but not least, step number 9, love your locks. When you're looking at other people's locks, you can admire them, but never compare your locks to theirs. Your hair is your hair, and their hair is theirs. You and that other person's locks will never look the same, and that's okay. It is for you to embrace your own lock journey. And remember, these are real locks. Unless you're getting lock extensions, your locks are your real locks. So not every single lock is going to be identical down to the size, the shape, the whole 9. They're not going to look the same. That's okay. And that is normal. Love each lock as it is. And that, my loves, is how you start your lock journey. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like this video, give it a big fat juicy thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any other questions about starting your lock journey that I did not mention in this video. And if you have any other tips and tricks on starting your lock journey that I did not mention, comment down below. We all need to know. Put your girl on. Let your girl know. If you enjoy my lock content and would love to see more videos like these, please be sure to smash that subscribe button. Join the gang. You already know. And I love you guys. Stay sexy. And until next time, peace out, Girl Scout.